structure. This is the way you're supposed to connect to AI. So the very best thing you need to think about AI is you have an AI and that you want to connect that AI service, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini to an external app like your database or any other application or services that you have. So MCP is the bridge that connects your AI, the AI like ChatGPT to that external service. So that's what MCP is. But it also provides a standard that all AI models use right now to enable that connection. So you can see it's a universal standard that all of them are using, and it also secures access. AI only sees what is explicitly given. So what you have built in your MCP server, they can only see it based on your own specification. And as well, MCP was built by Anthropic. Anthropic is a Claude, is made by is a company from Claude. If you know Claude AI, that's where Anthropic is from. So it's open to use for everyone and is now being adopted by basically every AI provider in the world right now. Okay, now let's look at the problem before MCP. So every AI tool had its own custom integration. Developers build the same connectors repeatedly, no standard for security or data access. Basically, in the past, when AI is still a relatively new technology, AI, so when developers were trying to connect the different AIs to their applications or services, they were building it themselves. They were making that integration, that connector themselves. So it's not like there was no standard of doing it. So if you're going to make one for ChatGPT, I now want to now switch from ChatGPT to Gemini. You have to start making a different. Is now different. Your MCP is now going to be completely different. So that's already shows so many issues, security, data access. It was hard to maintain, it was hard to scale. So it was now very difficult for you to switch AI models. Maybe you didn't want to use Chat GPT anymore. You wanted to use Gemini. It's now difficult for you. You have to now start writing a completely different MCP tool connection to solve that problem again. So that's why MCP now came in. So with MCP, you get one protocol. It works across all systems. You can build it once. You can reuse everywhere, any AI provider. It's also consistent with security model. There's a security model built into it. So you can swap AI models without writing any integration that you've made yourself. And it's very much community driven. So, there is a lot of support in this. So I think the best way for me to actually even explain this problem is think about USBs or USB-C to be specific. In the past, where we had different phones, where we have our phones, Samsung, iPhone, Infinix, all of them come with their own specific charger, their own specific USB that looks different. Micro USB looks this way, looks that way, that only works on that specific phone model. But then fast forward to now, the standard is now using a USB-C. With USB-C, your Infinix can connect to a Samsung and vice versa. You don't need to change anything else. Just make the USB-C. So that's what MCP is. So just imagine it to be that USB-C layer. So let's look at how it works generally here. So now we have the host. The host is the AI application the user is interacting with. So you send a message to the host requesting for whatever you're requesting there. And then you now have the clients. Now the client manages the connection between the host and the server. The client, you're not the one building the client. It's the AI provider application that is building that client for you. Imagine it as a socket that comes with the AI provider. And then you will now build the server, which is the MCP server, that now exposes your tools, your data, your application or services to the AI safely. So the MCP server is just what you build. It exposes your tool, your databases, APIs to anything that speaks to any AI that's currently as of today. Almost every AI provider, the big ones especially, are moving into this standard. It's now a standard here. Okay, so let's look into some real-world applications of MCP where it's being used in the real world and all that. So we have the database queries. So you can ask an AI in natural language, which is why AI is great because you can prompt it, you can type what you want and it will give you your answer. So it will now pull from your database using plain language. You don't need to have any SQL expertise needed. You just need to have your MCP server that will safely connect the AI to the database. Of course, you have to be careful about this so that the AI does not go and delete your database. So we have our web and API access. The AI can browse the web, they can call external APIs, they can fetch live data, all through an MCP server that you control. So that's just as simple as just getting information on the internet that is just readily available there. It could be on foreign exchange rates and all that. So you could also use it for custom business tools. So you could wrap internal tools, form processes, file generators, eligibility checkers as MCP tools for AI to use. So that's very self-explanatory. So if you have a custom business that you want, a process you want to automate to make it easy for you, you could have AI handle lots of the complexity or technical aspects there. And then we also have the multi-agent pipeline. So this one is just talking about you chain multiple AI agents together, each with its own MCP server to automate complex multi-step workflows. So you're not just dealing with just ChatGPT. You could use ChatGPT for one thing, Gemini for another, Claude for another, DeepSeek for another, each doing one thing. Now, because you have MCP, that is a standard way of connecting all this together, it's now possible. There is no headache in building this. Okay. All this. All right, so let's just look into if you're interested in MCP and it has piqued your interests. Now, here's how you get started. So MCP, as I said, is open. Okay, when Tropic made it, they made it such that the community can invest in it, they can help it grow, test it, and all that. So it's very well documented right now. So it's very easy for you to get your hands into the documentation. I've looked into the documentation. I've also built some MCP applications that are very straightforward. All of them are straightforward. So the documentation is mostly at the model context protocol websites. You just look into it. That just defines the standard for building MCP. That's the standard. So you can use any tool you want. You could use your Python, you could use TypeScript, JavaScript to work it, but FastMCP is one of the easiest starting points if you want to get into it. Obviously, if Python is not your choice of language, you could use JavaScript for that. But these are the two languages that are right now leading the charge in making MCP servers. So you can install it and it's very, very simple. It's very simple to make a MCP tool to connect to your external application. Of course, you can also connect to Claude. Claude AI has a native MCP support. The docs will help you walk through it. So most big AI or all AI companies right now, the big ones really, and even the small ones, this is the standard now, all have this MCP support. Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, all of them have this needed MCP support. So if you're learning it, how to use this MCP, you don't have to worry about, oh, is it going to work for this AI provider or that AI provider? You just need to learn the MCP once, and then you'll be able to work with whatever projects that you have. Okay, so let's look at MCP in action. So we have an e-commerce assistant. I just want to show you just how MCP can be used in a real world scenario, specifically on the e-commerce section. So we have an online store that uses an AI assistant to handle customer queries, check the inventory, and process orders, all powered by MCP. So again, the customer will ask, is the red sneaker in the stock? Again, the beautiful part about using AI and MCP is that you're able to ask questions naturally, just natural questions, natural ways of just speaking. You don't have to do anything else. And then the AI assistant will understand these requests, and then it will now connect to your MCP server, and that MCP server will connect to the database, get a response, and then send it back. So this is all possible because of MCP. Now, the AI doesn't store your inventory data. It only fetches everything through the live MCP server. So you could swap the model at any time. The MCP stays the same. You can add any kind of tool, payment, return, shipping without even touching the AI layer. It's just the MCP server. All the AI will do is to understand what the user is requesting, even if it's a voice message the user is sending. With your MCP, if you set up your MCP correctly or well, you'll be able to handle all that. So this is just one very specific example. There are many that are already readily available, and more are still coming here. So key takeaways from everything that we've done here is that, again, MCP is a standard. It is not a product. Now, as I explained earlier, it is just like USB-C for AI. One connector, many devices. So just keep in mind that it's a standard. It's a way for you to connect X to Y this specific way. So it solves the real integration problems that many developers had, as well as users, companies they had. So no more one-off custom connector for this AI tool. So no more anyone saying, oh, I built this for this specific tool, I can't use it for another AI provider. None of that anymore. So it's now basically the future of AI tooling. Every major AI platform is adopting it right now. So that's where we are in. So this is now the conclusion of my presentation. Is there any questions so far on MCP and what we've done, what I've talked about here?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, Peter, I can see your hand.
Yes, good morning, Seth. Thank you for the presentation. Uh, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so please, I have just one question on NCP. There's a slide that you projected that where we have the host, the client, and the server. It portrays MCP as the client. So I'm wondering, yeah, yeah. So is MCP actually a client, or is it just a protocol through which client and server communicate?
It's a
Just
protocol
like you
through
have
which client. Okay, continue.
yeah, yeah. I just want to compare it to a protocol like HTTP through which a client and server communicate. But this slide is saying that MCP is a client, so I'm a bit confused.
Okay, you're correct in the HTTP analogy that yes, it is a protocol. Yes, it's a protocol. That's what it is. But it's also the client part here is referring to the AI provider itself. Protocols have is a two-way street in protocols. The response, the post response, and then the get. That's how HTTP is, right? So in MCP, just like HTTP has post and get, MCP also has post and get. So in this specific case here for this MCP clients, this is just the AI provider saying this is the specific protocol standard for you to connect. This is the only way, this is the way for you to connect your MCP server to us. That's what the MCP client is. So all the AI providers, they all make a specific way or the standard way for connecting to them. So all you have to do is now to create your own MCP server, which is the post. You can imagine that to be the post. The MCP client, you can imagine that to be the get requests, and then the server to be the post requests. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, Digoke Michael.
Yes, good morning. Good morning,
Yeah, good
everyone. I
morning.
will also buttress on the points that you made regarding that. So just to explain at a higher level, yes, MCP is a protocol. From what Peter was asking, yeah, HTTP is a protocol for web communication, while MCP is a protocol for AI tool communication. So the MCP kind of it defines how the responses are formatted. So where the whole client thing comes in is that like I said, the MCP protocol is the rules for communication, while the MCP client is the app that now uses the protocol. So I don't know if that's also helps to buttress the point. So
Yeah, Michael, thank you very much. You really did help to explain it more. So again, remember I used the UXB example. You could just imagine it as, let me even use my phone. You can imagine it as your USB. This particular USB, just imagine it as the port. That's the client. While the USB itself, the USB-C itself is the server. So if you think about it that way, I think you should understand it more. Okay. Are there any questions on this topic? Okay, let me pose my own question.
Yes.
Okay, you have a question or am I asking?
Yes, question. I can't see where to raise my hand on this on the browser.